Hello and welcome to a wonderful Wednesday, wickedly awesome stream. Thanks for hanging out for another super relatively random live stream. I really appreciate it. I am stalling for time so I can check my audio and make sure everything is synced up because I had some issues with that last time. Hey, that's looking pretty good. All right, let's jump in real quick here. So I just kind of wanted to have, I've been trying when there's time, now that I have like a relatively flexible and simple streaming setup. I know there's a lot of stuff, but it's relatively simple overall, that when there's time, when it's like, hey, there's a chunk of time in the morning, a chunk of time this afternoon, to just sort of go for it and go live, which is why there's absolutely no rhyme or rhythm or reason to the times and everything. So I appreciate the flexibility on that. And I appreciate everyone being here randomly. We're just going to hang out, talk about audio, video related stuff, maybe some other stuff if you want to as well. If you got any questions, you can put a Q colon in front of them and it will really help me find them. That's the word, find them. See, there's no editing in a live stream. It will help me find them. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. You're not breaking the law or anything. We've got to say some hellos first. We got Frisch, Ahmed, just leaving a like. I'm already in bed. It's nearly 10:45. Have a good night. You do not need to lose sleep over this. And Buckaroo Brogan's here for the AV Club, but Mom says got to get right home with us afterwards. I love that. Norfolk B, Wild Lives Matter. Hello from across the pond. Hello from across this side of the pond. Aka Bulmoto, what's up? You do great vids, by the way. Thank you very much. What's up, Mark? Biggie Bickford, Tombuck is, in fact, I am in the house because that's where I am right now. I am in the house. Official Booba, what's up? Lorenzo, it's good to see you. There are other questions in there. I purposely skipped the questions. I wasn't, because we want to go back to the questions after the hellos. So I do want to, this is perfect timing. This first question right here from N Wolf. It's like you read my mind because this is exactly what I wanted to talk about anyway. Asking how likely is it to need a delay in audio to sync it to the video in a live recording streaming environment? Does it depend on the camera, gear, the processing, the computer doing the stream? Yes, it depends on all of those things. There are a lot of variables. The reason I wanted to talk about this was because this is only my second time actually streaming on this computer. This is not a new computer. This is my MacBook Pro I got when the 14 inches were released, like in 2021. So it's several years old, but I always just stream from my Mac Mini, which is right over here. But now that I have a more flexible setup, it's kind of easy to just sort of put things right here and stream from this computer, and that's really nice. But last time I did it, it was the first time I had done that, and there was my syncing settings from the Mac Mini weren't the same here, and so the stream was a little bit out of sync last time. And it's something everybody struggles with live streams, right? Like audio, video syncing up is a thing everybody struggles with. It's definitely something I know on my channel multiple times a week. There's comments and messages from people asking about it. And I thought it'd be a helpful thing to start off with talking right away, because the most important thing that I want to communicate when it comes to audio and video syncing is that it is not a defect. It's not a problem. It's not an issue. It's just a thing that happens. And there are lots of reasons for that. The easiest way to think of it is that video signals are very information rich and audio signals aren't as information rich. They're not as heavy. So it's almost like there's all the other variables. There's your camera, there's your cables, there's your computer, there's your capture card. Like there's all these other things that play into it. But at the end of the day, it's like if you took two identical twin runners, like Olympic runners who could match each other perfectly, and you gave one of them like a bag of feathers to run with, and you gave the other a bag of bricks to run with, the one with the bricks is going to just go slower because they're carrying more stuff. And that's the video signal. The feathers would be the audio signal. And so what you have to do is you have to put some ankle weights on the runner with the feathers so that way the bricks can catch up and then they can sync up and run together. And that's all you're doing with audio video stuff. So there's nothing wrong. Like you're not doing anything wrong if your stuff is out of sync. It's just a thing that happens because you're working with two different types of signals that have totally different amounts of data and information in them. And you just need to experiment and sync it up. There is no like golden thing for the Sony FX3, you need this much of a delay or whatever. But the good news is there's so many different ways to overcome that. Right now I'm using Ecamm Live and I have 4 frames of delay in Ecamm Live. It just measures it by frames, which I really like. If you use something like OBS, you can do it in milliseconds, which to me is a little more confusing. It takes a little more trial and error, but you can dial that in. Even stuff like the Rodecaster Pro right here, I can put a delay on the output here. So I could do it here and dial it in. The tricky part is the other delay, oftentimes, depending on where you're streaming. But like YouTube right now, there's about a 30-second delay. So I'm talking to you in the future I'm talking to you in the past. You're seeing me in the future. I don't know you're seeing me 30 seconds ago by the time you see this happen. And so it's a little tricky when you're trying to dial it in because you make a change. You have to wait for it to take effect. That changes depending on your platform. But all that being said, the original question was how likely is it to need a delay? And the answer is very likely. You probably definitely will with any streaming setup. But once you dial it in with your equipment, you should be pretty set. So don't delay, sync today. What's up, Shotgun Studio? It's nice to see you here. Do you recommend a certain HDMI cable for the Sony a7 IV? I run it with the Elgato Cam Link. I think my port broke on the camera from the regular cable hanging off the side. Yeah. So I regularly give Canon a lot of guff because they can't seem to put full-size HDMI in their cameras. Maybe if upcoming ones, they will. But for even things like the C70 or the R5C, like, video-centric cameras, they have micro HDMI. One of the weaknesses of micro HDMI is that it is weak. Like it's a weak port that's easy to break, and it's frustrating to use. Full-size HDMI is a little more reliable, but still can be, tweaked, broken, bent, all that kind of stuff. It's why a lot of full-on cinema cameras, video cameras, and things use SDI outputs because it's a stronger connector that then locks in and doesn't go anywhere. Of course, some cameras have little things you can put on the side. I think some of the Sony ones might even come with it that lets you kind of like lock the HDMI cable in. But I saw this question before the stream started. In terms of quality, especially for the stuff that we're doing, like we're running stuff out of home studios, right? So we don't need super long lengths of cable. We're not doing anything crazy. We're kind of just getting from like camera to computer over here. Basically any HDMI cable will work. Like there's not a huge quality difference. So if you go to Best Buy and they have their like $80 HDMI cables, don't buy those. Just whatever, go to Amazon. I have a couple here. I do have a couple of the Condor Blue. This is a purple Gerald and Dunn cable. I like these because they're high quality cables and they don't fail, but they're pretty heavy. And I'm actually using one right now. You can maybe you can't see it, but it's coming in over here. So that's what is sending the feed right now. But it is a heavier cable. And when it's hanging off the camera, it does kind of put some pressure on that. So I don't always use these straight out of the camera. I just have this cable that I got off Amazon. It's it was an inexpensive cable, but look how kind of like flimsy it seems. This is perfect because there's no weight and no pressure on this. So I don't know why I didn't use this today. Why am I holding this and not using this? This is what I normally use because it doesn't put any pressure. So I would just get a really thin HDMI cable and use that. Oops. And that will work pretty well. Let's see here. Jumping in. Hey, we saw that I don't know how to say the name. Added FR exclamation point. Been a subscriber for a long time. Thank you. I wonder if you have a nice standard zoom objective for zoom lens for an E-mount A6400. So you're looking for a crop sensor zoom lens. It's perfect timing actually, because my video that's coming out tomorrow is all about this lens, which is the Tamron 20-40. And this is like my favorite full frame zoom lens because it's a 2.8. But in that video, I talk about also the Tamron, oh my gosh, I think it's the 17-70 2.8. It's the exact same price as this. So it's $700. It's not cheap by any means, but in the world of camera lenses, it's cheap because camera lenses get crazy expensive. And that, if you're looking for a zoom, 17-70 at f2.8 is kind of amazing. And that's the one I would get if you have the budget for it. The Tamron 17-70 f2.8. Can't go wrong with the Tamron. Yeah. Let's see here. Do you prefer the Rodecaster Pro 2, Duo, or DLZ Creator XS? I like them all. I'm using the Rodecaster here. Actually, the reason I'm using the Rodecaster here, I can tell you, is because of this right here, the Interview Pro. Let me make sure this is working. I am also working on a review for the Rode Interview Pro. This is a wireless microphone that can connect with Rode's like newer wireless things, including the Rodecaster. So if I switch over, now I can get rid of the SM7B and I can be wireless. Where is it? On the Interview Pro. Boy, I hope that sounds okay. I think it does. Sounds fine in my headphones. So the reason I'm telling you this is because this is why I'm using this today, is I wanted to use this microphone and play with it and talk about it a little bit. And that's why I'm using the Rodecaster. So if you're using wireless stuff like this, the Rodecaster Pro 2 and the Duo, pointing over here because my Duo's over there, they make a lot of sense. The Mackie DLZ and the Creator and the Creator XS are also awesome. Like, you can't go wrong with any of them. The big DLZ Creator for me is just too big. Like, it's cumbersome. It's very cool, but it's cumbersome. The XS is really cool, and if I can remember, next time I do a stream here, I'll use the XS because it's so much fun to use, and I love the form factor and everything. And the reason I have the Duo, I think we talked about this in the last stream, but the reason I have the Duo over there is because it has a VESA mount, and I just like having it off the desk. I just want to check in on the audio from this, see how this is doing. Hey, it sounds pretty darn good. So yeah, so I love all of them. You can't go wrong. If there's a specific feature you want, like being able to use Rode wireless things with the Rode product, or there's specific form factors you like, that could be the tipping point in your decision. Beyond that, it could literally just be like budget, if you find one for cheap. It's kind of hot in here, so I'm gonna go turn down the air conditioning, but I'm gonna use this. This is a 2.4 gigahertz system. I'm going to be walking through multiple walls. We will see if the audio cuts out. It's going to be a good test. So I'm opening the door, walking over here. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'm walking. This is an omnidirectional pickup pattern. And now I just need to turn down the air conditioning just a little bit because I was becoming a sweaty boy in there. Sweaty spaghetti. I hope I can get in here in time to hear this test and see how it sounded and how it worked. I am back in here, and now I should have air conditioning, and the focus showed up as well. Oh, to turn down the air conditioning just a little bit. This is kind of impressive. Okay. That's kind of impressive. I thought for sure it would cut out because we didn't have line of sight and we had stuff in between. I wasn't super far away, but it's pretty sweet. I'm impressed. I'm genuinely impressed with that. Let's jump in here, say some hellos, and then get back to questions. We got H3O from Lithuania. Hello. John Adams, what up? Greetings from Central Florida to Webcast Dude. Here's Kathy, also from Central Florida is John. We got Tom. What up, Tom? It's nice to be in my own chat. Mr. Elmore's Music Lab. Hello, hello, hello. We got Raymond Hill. Apparently Central Florida. Was it 9:45, 10 o'clock Pacific time on a Wednesday? Is that 1 p.m. for you guys? Seems to be the time for a stream. Let's see here. Hey, Generic Mike got Ecamm. I hope you like Ecamm. I've been using it for like 4 or 5 years now. It's really great. We're talking about delay and thing. OBS or StreamYard for live streaming. Well, yeah. Now I got stuck on a question. If you're looking at OBS or StreamYard to do a hockey game, that's awesome. That's awesome. I would like to see how you do that. StreamYard is good if you're using a not powerful computer because it puts all the processing online. OBS is good if your computer is powerful enough to handle it and you have a lot more flexibility and options. Same with Ecamm. So we got Matt in Nashville. It's always nice to see you here, Matt. We got Andres in Ecuador. Learn, have fun along the way. I love that. Solve problems without realizing it. That's the best. Here we go. Nerd Nest has the Tamron 17-70 and loves it. I love my Tamron lens. Here's Tyler. This is a little bit louder. Well, yeah, this is a condenser mic, so it's going to be louder. Hopefully it's not crazy. Saying this sounds better than the SM7B. I have no effects and no processing. I can turn on a little bit of processing. This is like a preset that I made for the pod mic. It's nice because I can move. I don't have to stay around where the mic was. This is a bit of processing I made, and this is just the microphone's raw sound. But I also, it comes with this little pop filter windscreen, but it's kind of small, and I'm not crazy about having branding on it, so I use the much less distracting bright blue one. Here, I'll mute. And then I actually really like how this kind of like cuts down a little bit of the high end frequencies. So this mic with this and no other effects or processing is actually my favorite way that it sounds. And the audio's still in sync. That's cool. I'm really impressed that this didn't cut out at all. I kind of thought it would at that point in time. Let's see here. Matt's laughing at me about saying the DLZ is cumbersome because he works with boards that are like 5 times the size of this desk. Adriano, thanks for doing the live stream. Research professor and is wondering if you plan to teach courses or release tutorials for those teaching online. So, teaching teachers. That would be cool. That's something I've actually kicked around a little bit. I was a high school teacher for 11 years, if you didn't know, including during the pandemic, which was crazy. Currently, I don't have anything, but that is something I would like to do. I do have, I don't know if this is helpful or not, but I do have all of my old lesson plans and stuff on my website. So you go to himynamestom.com. There's an about section. You can see curriculum. And I don't think that's super helpful, but yeah. We got Dallas, we got Brazil, we got Poland. We got everybody. It's so crazy, right? Like everybody, New York. Here's Kyle Watts. What's up, Kyle? I'm sure you've never heard that joke before. Andre's here from Norway. I heard you met up with Teppo Hopoya, which is pretty awesome. Columbia in the house. And, oh, sweet. And Michael just finished the Lowboy construction based on my design. That is what this camera's on right now. The Lowboy is a small rolling, well, it's a heavy duty, but small rolling stand. So I'm going to jump into questions. It's just nice to like catch up with the regular chat too. Let's see here. Andrew Waldman says, do you know of any software that will do live transcription of a podcast and allow you to save the transcript? I kind of think YouTube might do this. I think when you set up your podcast on YouTube, you can set like subtitles, captions, and it maybe right now, I don't know. Can I do that? Is that a thing? Hello. Oh yeah. Okay, so YouTube is captioning this live right now, and I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe I could go in and download that transcript once the stream is done. So there we go. I think that, I'm sure there's other tools too, especially with all the AI stuff that's around now, but YouTube seems to do a pretty good job. Buckaroo Brogan, when Gerald and Dunn inevitably tours your studio, what's the top thing he'll take points off for? I don't think mine's interesting enough for, like, it's interesting to me. I love it here, but like, it's a small space. He'd probably take points off for, he's a tall person, so maybe for being too short, the ceiling's too low, maybe, because he is quite tall, and I am not quite tall. Norfolk B says, I stream my garden wildlife cameras on YouTube via Ecamm, but Ecamm doesn't support audio from IP cameras. Ooh. Any suggestions for getting audio on my live stream? I don't know. I'm not someone who's worked a lot with IP audio. But if you could maybe use some sort of loopback-ish program where you can bring in some kind of system audio and then turn that into a virtual source that Ecamm can see, maybe that's a way to do it. I'm not 100% sure though. Mr. Elmore says, my channel just got fully monetized. Congrats. Need to get my live stream game going. I've done a couple on StreamYard, but anything better for a guitar teacher style channel. Love that HHS strat. Wait, what? Humbucker, single. Sorry, I'm confused because this is the Fender 66. These strats all have single coils. Oh, you can't see this one over here. Except that this single coil it's a hot rail, so it's a humbucker that's the size of a single coil. Guitar teaching stuff. The person I know who might pop in the chat at some point has a channel called Homesick Mac. It's all one word. And he does blues guitar, live tutorials, pre-recorded videos and stuff. He's been doing them for years. And he has a 3-camera setup, so you can see him, you can see his picking hand, you can see his fretting hand, and everything is in sync and looks good. And he's worked on it for a long time. And he does it all through Ecamm. So I would maybe recommend checking out his channel. And if he pops up in the chat here, you can ask him directly because he's definitely the person to ask. That sounds really, really cool though. Actual pug. This is an actual pug in the chat. Can you believe it? How can I reduce or eliminate room noise and co-host voice on my mic? I have an SM7B with a cloud lifter and a Wave XLR. Should I remove the cloud lifter and add more gain in post? So I haven't used the Wave XLR. Look at these match perfectly. But from what I know, the Wave XLR has plenty of gain for the SM7B. Basically, if something has at least 70 decibels of gain, you should be pretty good, because this usually needs like 55, 56 to start sounding pretty good. But if you're maxing something out, like the original Rodecaster here has 55, I think it is, decibels of gain. So if you crank it, you can kind of like just get enough to power the SM7B, but it's like right on the edge. Whereas this has like 76, the DLZ Crater has like 80. I think the Wave has 76, 72, 70 something. It should be fine. Adding in the Cloud Lifter on that though shouldn't hurt anything. It shouldn't be hurting anything. The thing I would say, which we kind of talked about in the last stream, is a lot of microphones, especially the SM7B specifically, right? It's a cardioid microphone, so it kind of has this little like bubble here that it's picking up sound in, sort of around here. And then it doesn't really pick up sound as much on the sides, and it has a little area in the back that it picks up sound from too. It's just sort of like, it's not really what you would want. You don't want sound from the back, but it's just sort of an unavoidable thing. It's physics, I don't know. And that means your mic positioning is very important. So if you have a co-host here and you're over here and you have the back of the microphone pointing to them, it's actually, even though the mic's pointing away from them, you might be right in this little lobe that pops out to pick up sound, and you might be picking up more. So if you angle it at like a 45-degree angle where the side of the microphone is facing them, this is actually the least directional part of the microphone. So they would be blocked out the most. And that depends. Like the microphone I'm using right now is omnidirectional, the Interview Pro. So this, what's kind of cool is I can point it away from me. I can kind of move it around like this. And it also has a thing called gain assist. So it's keeping the level, and it shouldn't really be changing my voice even though I'm moving it around like that. Whereas if I were to go back over here to the SM7B and I kind of move to the side, you can kind of hear my voice going in and out. I can't do this sort of thing with it. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just different. It's just important to know how your mic works. So the SM7B is a really good mic for not picking up other things. So the closer you can get to the microphone, use as little gain as possible to get the level that you want, and then positioning your mic there. And then room tone and stuff, if you can add in a noise gate that doesn't sound distracting, that's always helpful too, of course. I think those are all good ways to do it. John, what's up, John? Could you help me stop my Sony a7 IV from overheating during Zoom calls? I have an HDMI cable connected to the cam link. It overheats. That's interesting. Because I have my a7 IV, which I've had, when did I get this? January of 22. I've never had it overheat. And I have used it on a lot of Zoom calls and video calls and live streams and stuff for over 40 minutes. And I had to turn on the AC because I live in the desert where it's very hot. That's interesting. It could depend on your ambient temperature. So wherever if your room is hot or there's not a lot of ventilation, that could definitely affect it. I'm sure you know about opening the screen does help. I don't know if it even says here. No, it just says the surface will get hot. But yeah, opening the screen helps because then you open things up there. The other thing I would say, if it's a Zoom call, you probably don't need crazy high resolution footage. So if you switch it into 1080 instead of 4K, then it really shouldn't have any issues. If you're in 1080 and it's still overheating after 40 minutes, that's weird. And I don't know. I don't want that to happen. That shouldn't be happening. And if you have that temperature sensor thing, I forget which menu item it is, but if you go into your menu, I think you go all the way down to the bottom to the setup thing, and somewhere in there you can adjust the temperature power off where you want temperature setting to be high, so that way it doesn't power off preemptively. If you haven't done that, that's the thing. It's always like the first thing to do with Sony cameras because they put that on forever. Hablamos de terror. Hello, little help please. I have a Rodecaster Duo, 2 mics, but I need a third mic for just one interview. I have a DJI mic version 1. Is there a way to connect that to the Duo? So the DJI mic, I have the Rode Wireless Pro right here, which is sort of similar. So here's the receiver from the Wireless Pro, and you have a receiver for your DJI mic. You can run a cable from here. The Duo does have that TRS jack in the front. Mm. Honestly, what's probably the easiest thing to do, if you're running into a computer, I believe you could take the DJI receiver, connect it to your computer through USB, and then it will show up as an audio source. At least you can do that with these ones, and I think that's the same. And then I would just, in whatever software you're recording with, if you're not only recording on the Duo. Oh, actually, okay, in whatever software you're recording with, you could take the Duo, add that as a source, take the DJI receiver, add that as a source, and then there you go. Or you could do that, you could plug it into your computer and then bring in your computer as a USB source on the Duo, and it would have that maybe, but there might be a weird delay. There might be a weird delay. And the other thing, of course, is just use the DJI mic, record internally, and then sync it up afterwards, which would require more editing, but it could happen. Would you consider going back to being a media teacher? The teaching part was super fun, but the being a teacher part, I think it's only gotten worse since the pandemic. Like I've heard, I forget who it was. There was some stand-up comic like years ago who I heard say that they perform on stage for free, but what they're paid for is all of like the travel and the stress and the frustration to get to the point where they can be on stage doing their comedy. That's kind of how I felt with teaching. Like teaching the classes, I would almost do that for free. It was everything else. Like it really felt like swimming, like a salmon swimming up the like most extreme stream in the world. And I would just try to live stream on my own because it was like impossible to get. It felt so near impossible to get to a point where I could just be in my classroom. Here's our topic. Here's the class. Let's talk about it. Let's teach it. Let's do that. It's like everything else gets in the way of that. And it was crazy. I felt like even though I taught, I don't know, 250 students, and I had, 6 separate class periods with 5 different sections. So like I had one class that repeated and everything else was, all the other ones were different, different classes. That's a lot to plan for. It still felt like very little of my job was actually teaching, and so much of it was just dealing with like all of the politics and things. I feel like that's only gotten worse since the pandemic. So if there was like a major shift in public education, basically if it was entirely different, then maybe. Nerd Nest, have you used the Rode Wireless Pro on the mic stick? And if so, do you have a windscreen that you like? Yes, yes, and yes. I'm going to walk over here, and you don't have to miss out on hearing me. I am going, I'm going to grab a non-blue one for a change. So right now I'm using the Rode Interview Pro, and I'm looking, here it is. It's almost like I was ready to talk about this. But prior to this, check this out. Here's what I can do. I can take this, pop this in here. There we go. Now I have an outstanding mic stand. Hello. And it's wireless. So prior to this, because it's really cool, this is a wireless handheld microphone it's a 2.4 gigahertz one. It connects to all of Rode's things. It does have built-in recording, so you don't even need a receiver necessarily. You can just press record on here and then just use it as a field recorder, basically, a microphone-shaped field recorder. Or you can record while transmitting, so that way you have some redundancy built in case things did cut out. This is $249 MSRP. And then Rode has all of these different things, all of these, wireless pros, wireless goes, wireless me's, wireless go 2s, all kinds of stuff. These are great, very different price points. Lots of people already have these. If you already have one of these and you like this microphone, I think the sound quality of this capsule is better than these, but these are pretty decent. And for $29, you can just get this, the Rode Interview Go. This is the Interview Pro, this is the Interview Go. It's kind of like how there's the Rodecaster and the Procaster, and those are different things. And then this just clips right in here, like so. And now you have a microphone on a stick, and it comes with a windscreen. Boom. And then you have an interview mic like this, which works really well. And for $29, the flexibility this adds, I did use this. Literally the day I got this was, I got this a long time ago. I got this in May of 2020. And the day I got it, it was the start of the pandemic. Well, it was like, a couple months into the pandemic. And the school I was teaching at was doing like a virtual graduation. They needed to record virtual speeches, and everything was social distance and weird. And I was like called in with no notice to try to set something up and like, make a set, like make it look like a graduation set with a podium so all the administrators and stuff could come give talks, and nothing was working right. Nothing, the school had been shut down for months at that time. And so I just had this and I just put it on the podium, completely saved the day. Literally like 40 minutes after it got delivered from UPS, it like totally saved the day and worked really well and had great audio with the wireless thing. But the problem was it did say Rode all over it, which is, not always what you want. So reporterstore.com, where I get all my colored things. I'm not associated with them, by the way. Just get a lot of stuff from them. They do sell wireless Go windscreens. You can kind of see it has this rectangle, so it's the same as the one from Rode. These are actually a little bigger and a little thicker, and it pops in. I got the magenta one. They come in every color, including just plain black if you don't want a bright color. But yeah, reporterstore.com has these. They're based, I forget exactly where, somewhere in Europe. So if you're in the United States, shipping can be a little bit expensive. Sometimes it's like $20 for shipping on a $20 item. So usually what I do is I kind of like wait till there's multiple things I want to order a bunch at once, and then get them all shipped at the same time. But if you're not in the United States, then that's not an issue. And so a lot of these also have built-in recording, just like this does. So basically, if you have this, you could spend $29 and get almost the same functionality, and then you don't need to buy this unless you really like the sound quality or you just want it because you want it. Sometimes just because you want it is a good enough reason for a thing. Let's see here. It's getting a text message from Audio Hotline. All right. Oi. Things falling down over there. But yeah, I do quite like this microphone. The Interview Pro. I happened to be at NAB when Rode announced these. It was like the day they announced, and I walked over to the Rode booth, and I was like, that's a thing. I didn't even know about it. Like, that's where I found out about it. And I got to test one out there. And then they did send this over, which was very cool, like kind of right after. So I've had this for about 2 months, and now I'm working on my video review for it because I've gotten to use it more. And I really like it. Like, and if you notice, the handling noise on this is not bad at all. A lot of handheld microphones, this kind of thing, you can't do it. And this works pretty darn well. Obviously, the signal works well. The sound quality is nice. The omnidirectional pickup pattern is really helpful. It's great. My only complaint, now I'm just jumping into my review of this. My only complaint with this is built-in battery, just like the other stuff. There's no reason you couldn't just put a replaceable battery in here. I talk a lot about that in my video, so I don't need to get into it here. That's really the only downside to this. I don't know how we got there. Ex Machina Game. Oh my gosh. I swear I used to be able to read. Ex Machina Gamma says, how can you separate channels for gaming on the Rodecaster Pro 2? You do have the option of 3 different inputs. So right now I have one USB right here, but you could plug in a second USB. The first USB will show up as a main and a chat. So you have basically two USBs through this one cable, and each of those can be assigned for different things with different output mixes. And then you have the second one, you could just plug a second USB into the same computer, and then you have a third. So you can have 3 separate USB inputs, all with their own output mixes from the Rodecaster Pro 2 and the Duo. Same thing on the Duo as well. Leo, what's up, Leo? What's your favorite YouTube video you've made so far? Oh my God. There's a lot that I like. One of them that comes to mind is this one, the one I made last summer about the Canon XL1. I really love that video. And I was so sad because I spent like 6 weeks on that one video. And well, actually, I started working on like 3 years prior, kind of fizzled out in and out, and then spent like 6 solid weeks making it. And it didn't, like, nobody cared about it. Like, nobody saw it. And I was really sad about that. And then for some reason, like a month ago, 2 months ago, YouTube decided that everybody should see it. And then I was like, yay, people saw my video that I worked really hard on. And that was cool. That's the one that comes to mind. I don't know if that's the favorite, but alternative mounts for the Rode VideoMic Go 2. Do you need the red shock mounts if you're going to be in a static room? That's a good question. I can go over here once again without losing any audio. Oh, my Go 2 is in a different room that I'm not going to go to right now. Basically, well, here I have the VideoMic NTG that looks very similar, so people can see what you're talking about. The Go 2 is basically just a smaller version of this. and you're talking about the red shock mounts here. You don't need them, but they do really help. And the benefit is you have that 3/8 inch mount in the bottom. So this will connect to pretty much any mic arm, any mic stand, anything. So this is kind of the easiest way to mount the mic on other stands and things. And then you can do whatever. I put these on C stands, on regular boom arms, on like homemade boom arms, tripods. Like this kind of can mount on anything, and it's just whatever works for you, whatever you like, whatever works. There's no wrong way to do it, probably. There probably is a wrong way to do it, but I don't think you'll do it. Dean in real life asks, any virtual mixer software you'd recommend for use with streaming? No. That's an area that I do not know a lot about, but I'm super interested in knowing a recommendation. So if somebody knows a good virtual mixer, maybe even with a bit of EQ, let me know. I know Rode, obviously Rode has Rode Connect, and Rode has Unify, which is kind of maybe the closest thing they have to it, but I have like the hardware there, so I haven't played with the software myself. Chadwick, what's up? What do you think is the best way to use my Shure Beta 58 with a Sony camera and Sony XLR adapter? I often find it sounds a bit noisy. Okay, the Beta 58, that should have like a decent amount of gain, but if you're talking about the XLR adapter, it's basically the same one that I have on my FX3 right here, which means it has phantom power. So you can just run a booster. And I've done that. I've put SM7Bs directly into the FX3 with a booster. You know, you can use a Cloud Lifter or FET head. The Clark Technic CT1 is a less expensive one. I saw that Behringer just came out with like a total FET head ripoff, but it's like $35, so you can get that. I would just get a booster, put it in there, and then you'll have more gain, and you'll probably be able to get rid of some of that noise. Hey, Christian Rate, got a new job at a movie theater. Any advice? I never worked in a movie theater, but I did work at a video store. So I used to tell people I worked in the film industry, and they asked, what'd you do? And I said, marketing and distribution, which it was. I mean, like, the thing I always thought with any job, but like, you know, it's easy with a job like that where you're probably overworked, underpaid, stressed out, customers are crazy, is to try your best to stay sane, but also to be positive. Because if you can be a positive person to be around for coworkers and customers, it really makes a huge difference in the whole place. And then, yeah, I mean, that's just like, there's a thing where it's like a problem I had when I was younger and had a lot of retail jobs was I would like basically work too hard, which sounds like such a flex, but it's not. Like it was like, I was only getting paid so much. Maybe I don't need to be doing like the manager's job. But at the same time, having a sense of personal pride and you know, trying to do your best and, you know, helping other people out in ways is kind of a good thing to do. So I like that. A big thing with retail, or in this case, I guess, I don't know if it's retail, but customer service is dealing with customers, and people are crazy. And movie theaters sometimes don't bring out the best in people. But I know, like, working at, like, I used to work at Target a lot. Or not, I didn't work at Target a lot. I used to work at Target when I was in high school. And a lot of times what would happen is people would come up and they would ask you the same question over and over again. Same thing at, like, the video store or whatever. You get the same question, the same issues 50 times a day. And at a certain point, it can just be like, oh, my God. Like, you're so annoyed at answering the same question. But I think it's important to remember that the person asking the question, even if it's your 10th time hearing it today, it is their first time asking it ever. So trying to remember, like, you know, being empathetic, like try not to dehumanize people, which is a thing that can happen very easily in service and retail jobs. Otherwise, try to see as many free movies as you can. Let's see. How can you separate channels for game stream? I think we talked about that one already. What do you think about the Scarlett Focusrite Gen 4 bundle for singing? I think the fourth gen Scarletts are awesome. The price seems pretty great. I'm looking over there, the Lewitt Connect 2, which I really like, but it's a little more expensive. I think you can get the 2-channel Scarlett for about the same price as the Connect 2. They're all great, totally. Does the mic wirelessly sync to the... Yes, it does. Syncs to the Rodecaster Pro. You can use this with the Rodecaster Pro 2, the Rodecaster Duo, the Wireless Pro, the Wireless Me, the Wireless Go 2, and the Streamer X. I memorized all of them. And it has built-in recording as well. Do you have a video going over stream software setups, OBS? I have a video called like getting started with live streaming, and it's a little bit older, but the info's kind of basically the same. And I talk about Ecamm and OBS. I also have Ecamm versus OBS as well, which again, both programs have changed, but the basic foundations are still there. I should probably update those. Grumpus on fire. Oh, I'm sorry that you're on fire. I'm loving my Rodecaster Pro 2 for about a year now. Thanks for the views. I get confused on how the signal to my headphones. How do I tell if I'm hearing local sound or what's being broadcast? So if you go into the menu and you go into outputs, you can go into, not headphones. I always think it's headphones. It's routing. And there you can click on each headphone channel and decide what you want to hear. You're going to have an option. One says main mix and the other says custom. Main mix means you're just hearing everything coming out of the Rodecaster. Custom is where you can go in and decide what you do and do not want to hear. So sometimes people will like message me and say, something's weird with my Rodecaster, like all the sound is going out as it should, but I can only hear one channel, or I can't hear this or whatever. And a lot of times it's their headphone routing is set to where like something is being muted. What is happening to my nose right now? Something is being muted or funky. So if you go into headphone routings, that helps a lot. Kathy, have you tried any non-Rode wireless with the Rodecaster Pro 2? You can't connect any non-Rode things directly, which I've heard people criticize Rode for, but they have their own proprietary receiver built in to their branded unit. I'm fine with the fact that it only works with Rode things. I've used my Sennheiser EWDP with the Rodecaster, but it just plugs into an XLR thing. So I take the receiver, have a cable, an XLR cable that runs to that, and then it's wireless. So the Rodecaster thinks it's just a normal XLR mic, but I know it's a wireless mic. This is cool though, because you don't have to do any of that, and it just shows up on one of the channels on a Bluetooth. What channel is this? This is channel 3. Okay, so this does take up one of the inputs. I was like, wait, because this is 5 inputs now? I just had a bit of a brain fart there for a second, which was kind of fun. Alrighty, let's see here. I haven't even totally lost track of time today. Hey, Mr. Camera Junkie, I feel like I haven't seen you in such a long time, but it's nice to see you here. Cool, you're batting cleanup here. Jonathan Ramsey, what's up? It's good to see you. Pen friend, mainly tuning in to where I see the main puns are standard talk. They're scripted for the videos. It depends. If I have something that I think is worth putting in a script, then I will put it there. But for the most part, my brain's just broken, and those are things that just fall out of it. Yeah, there have been times in the past where I've done client videos, and they'll say like, "We love you and your personality. Like, just make one of your videos for us." And I'm like, "Okay," and I put in a whole bunch of goofy jokes, and then the feedback is like, "So we need you to cut out these awkward parts right here." And I'm like, that's my whole thing. I guess the puns were too punishing for them. Let's see here. What else we got here? Rode USB mic direct or any Rode wireless. I feel like I'm jumping in the middle of a conversation. Hey, I saw you have the MKH50, but what other mic would you recommend that sounds great, but it's not the MKH50? Yeah, so the Sennheiser MKH50 is my main. It's right here, boomed out of frame. It's not being used right now. I love that microphone. It's the closest I've ever found to being able to have a mic boomed out of frame that sounds almost like you have a mic in front of your face. Why did I move a mic in front of my face to put another mic in front of my face? I don't know. That's a thing that I did. The problem with the MKH50, not necessarily the problem, but something we were, it's a $1,200 microphone. If you're like me and you've used it almost every day for many years and it helps like run a business and stuff, very worth the investment. Otherwise, my favorite recommendation, which I do have a video about, is the Audio-Technica AT897. There's other stuff like even the video mic NTG actually doesn't sound too far off when you add a bit of EQ, but the Audio-Technica AT897 I think retails for about $250. It's a condenser, shotgun microphone. It's great. It needs phantom power to run, just like the MKH50, but even if you don't have phantom power, you can just pop in a battery and you're gonna be good to go. It's XLR microphone. Sound quality is very similar, directional pickups are very similar, and especially once you sprinkle in a bit of your own EQ and stuff, Plus, you get this sweet, look at this, you get this weird sweet box with it. It's pretty sweet. $250. This is the one I would recommend. Audio-Technica AT897. I do have a whole video about this on my channel that does compare it directly to the MKH50, so you can hear the difference between them with no effects and no processing. I really like the wireless mic because I haven't realized how scared I am to move when filming and stuff, because I either have the boom mic that I need to stay in, or there's a mic here and I need to like be around it. This is so freeing. And then to be able, oh, I left my instructions. And then to be able to just clip it into something like this, boop. If I get tired, not that it's a heavy microphone, but now I can just have my mic on a mic stand. Outstanding. Love your graphics. Thank you. I made everything here with Ecamm. So there we go. Matt says he teaches a tech class every other week for free, and I do no paperwork. Also, private school can't put up with government stupid. Yeah, that's the way to go. I think if you want to get to scratch the itch of teaching, but the part of being a classroom teacher, especially the program I got to teach, was because it was a 4-year program. So most students would enter in their freshman year, some would enter in their sophomore year. So I have pretty much all of them for 3 or 4 years, and it's every day, for 3 or 4 years. Not only the skill building, but the relationship building that you get in that time was super rewarding. And I don't think there's another way to really duplicate that. Yeah. Video editing is import, but audio editing importer. Importing footage is important too. Yeah, audio is so underrated. That's what I used to always tell my students. Audio is half a video. And honestly, I would say audio is 50%, but realistically, it's probably 60 or more % of video. Matt hates the Rode windscreen, so I bought a cheap one on Amazon. I'm not a NASCAR driver. Yeah, if they're not paying you to put the big branding on it, you don't need to put the big branding on it. And Amazon, I should say. The variety's not there yet, but Amazon does sell some colored windscreens. This is an SM7B one, and they're fine. They're not nearly the same quality. Like the Reporter Store, I know it's it's a piece of foam. How could there be different quality? The Reporter Store ones are so much higher quality than this one. And when I got the Amazon one, let me tell you, this thing stunk, and I had to leave it outside for 48 hours, and now it's fine. And it works fine, and it's $7 or something. And then I also know, I don't think he's in the chat, but if Doc Rock is around, I believe he's trying to solve the problem himself of high quality, colorful, custom windscreens at low prices without paying a bunch of money for shipping. So stay tuned for that, I suppose. I do think the price for the Interview Go is a bit cheeky for plastic and foam. Honestly, $29, I mean, I get it. $29 though, this sort of, it's a decent, it has a decent heft to it for what it is. And especially once you put the thing on there. And then windscreens, if you think that something like this could typically be maybe $10 to $15, that would mean this is, $15 and they go together. I'm cool with that. and they're durable, so you don't have to worry about dropping them either. Yeah, people, I mean, my big thing with Rode, which I feel bad, is the way that they love branding everything. And I have my PSA 1 arm, which I'm not using right now, but when you get this, it has 4 Rode logos on it. It's one here. It has 2 on each side, and I took some stuff that they're bright white, so it really looks like a NASCAR. And I think it's called VST, is a solvent that I found on Amazon. There's a link to it in the video description for this, for the PSA 1 Plus. And I took that, and I took an alcohol wipe, and just took about 10 minutes on each logo, but they all peeled off. And that's pretty cool. So, and then I also, because of that, someone who sometimes is in the chat, Luca, who has his own YouTube channel, but I believe most of it's in non-English, he made custom sleeves. You can't cut the sleeves off the PSA 1 without ruining them. They don't just come off or turn inside out. They're pretty rigid. But he kind of made these neoprene custom sleeves that he can do branded here, and that was pretty cool. So he did the blue with my name and my URL. Oof. There we go here. John Baptiste, long time no see. Glad to catch you live. 150 budget max from Africa is a recommendation for audio recording. I'm thinking. I'm thinking if you want to go XLR or USB, because $150 for a USB mic, oh my God, you can get so many good microphones for that price. Get the Sennheiser profile and you're going to sound great. And it's less than $150 and you're done. Or any number of other USB microphones, and that's probably the way to go. I was thinking if you want to go XLR and then you have an interface like the Focusrite Scarlett Solo is about $100 and you have $50 for an XLR mic. But if you just need one mic and you're just trying to record, especially for a faceless coding channel, so it's probably going to be voiceover more than anything, I would just go with USB because it's simple. USB because it's simple, you see. That's the way to go. Audio tab, I'm never satisfied with sound quality. I always look for better. Why audience never complain? Yeah, we are always our own worst critics. So there is a law of diminishing returns, right? Like if I'm just using my camera's built-in microphone, I'm gonna sound like poo-poo. And then if I get, a $15, if I get this $10 little mini mic, I'm gonna honestly sound 10 times better. And then if I get, then if I level up to something like the Sennheiser Profile, a nice USB mic, I'm gonna sound even better. And then if I go from this to the SM7B, it's like it's the biggest steps are at the beginning where you sound really good, and then it's kind of like much smaller improvements. So you also, I'm gonna take this out of here again because it was easier to walk around with this. You also are the only one who knows. It's kind of like this. So when I was teaching, a thing that my students would do when they presented their videos is they would just, whenever we had like critique days, which were almost like mini film festivals, I would have students in their, if they made something by themselves or in their groups, they would kind of get up on like this little stage thing I built and they would pitch their movie. The goal was to pitch their movie like, this is a horror film about blah, 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 like, like a trailer. And half the time it was just disclaimers where they're like, okay, the audio is like really bad in this, and we wanted to do this and film it at this place, but we couldn't, so we had to film it here, and we ran out of whatever. And I'm like, nobody wants to watch the movie that you're pitching. I didn't say that, but I tried to encourage them to remember that there's an idea in your head, there's a thing you actually create, and you're the only one who knows how close or separate those things are. Your audience only sees the thing that you actually made. And so you might be looking at all the faults. In this case, you might be looking at your audio and going, this is how I want it to sound. This is how it actually sounds. And you're just seeing all the ways that it doesn't stack up to that. But your audience is just hearing how it does sound, and they're probably fine with it. As long as it's not staticky or clipping or, really harsh sounding or something, they probably love it. And then you can go in and, you can keep tweaking and trying to learn new things with EQ and processing and stuff. But, yeah, it's not in your head. It's just that you're your own worst critic, as we all are. Here we go. Kathy talking about Doc Pops. Those are the, and speaking of the man himself, he's like Bloody Mary. I said his name 3 times and he showed up. Doc is working on something to solve the custom windscreen situation. Charlotte, what's up? Need to get a portable SSD for video and digital design files. The ones I have been using for a number of years are just the Samsungs. I like these. I have a T5. I think this is the T7. I don't know if they have updated ones. I think this is like 2 terabytes. They're like $150, and they're fast, and I like those. I did get a SanDisk one, and it's the only one I've ever had die. So don't get a SanDisk one. Don't do that. There we go. See, Doc is Bloody Mary, or maybe he's just having a Bloody Mary. I don't know. Let's see here. Would you have a video going over stream software? Oh, wait, we talked about this. Is the Tombuck art behind you from your teaching days? There's a story there. Oh, yeah, I know it feels sort of strange, this thing that says my name on it. It feels weird to have my name there. That's from February 11th, 2011. I can tell you the exact date. So my favorite band of all time is the Aquabats. They have a new album coming out soon. That's where a lot of this artwork comes from. One of like the founding members and art directors and people who have been involved with it forever is Parker Jacobs. He's actually the brother of the lead singer of the Aquabats. And Parker is like the coolest, nicest guy. I actually got to have him teach a 2-day workshop in my classroom several years back when I was teaching. And my students said I did a very good job of not fangirling too hard about it. And once I was at a concert, where's the artwork from it? Oh, there's a thing over on, there's a piece of art over on this wall you can't see that Parker did. He did like this. Basically, any of the stuff that looks like very mid-century-y is his artwork, and I love that style. And they were selling prints at a show. I went to an Aquabats concert. They were selling prints. Parker was there, and it was like at that point, 2011 was like the first time I got to meet him really. And he had literally just gotten the prints, like opened the box, and then they were selling them. And I was like, oh my God, these are great. So he actually gave me, sorry, it's over here. I should turn my camera so I can show you. Let's, just tripod pans and tilts. So we can go over here. Boop. There we go. Yeah, this one here. This is actually number 1 of 159. He actually gave me the first one, which is pretty cool because usually like the artist will do it. And if you look, this is the same height as this. Oh, my camera's moving. That's possessed. Oh, okay. Anyway, basically the thing with my name on it. I'm gonna put this back centered. Hello, what's up? Basically the thing with my name on it. He just had extra scraps of paper. But if you're someone who ever does art, finding good high quality paper, you don't kind of want to throw it away. So he just had all these scraps, and he took one out, and we were like talking, and he just started kind of doodling, and he like just started drawing my name and started adding all this other stuff on it, and that was like crazy. I couldn't believe I got to, just meet somebody that I admired in person at the time, much less than get custom artwork from them. So that was kind of awesome. That's the story behind that. There's stories kind of like that behind everything, which there's nothing wrong with just like going to, some stuff like I just ordered this on Amazon. This is just some artwork for The Expanse, which is a book and TV series that I love. It's a sci-fi series. It's great. So some stuff is literally just that, but at least it represents something I love. But most of the other things have like some kind of story behind them, which is really fun. Let's see here. Oh, sweet. Lorenzo said Reaper is something that people recommend for audio mixing and recording live. I've heard of Reaper, but I haven't used it. I've been scared of it. I've been fearing the Reaper. All right. We as a society really need to think about the behavior of being a customer. People don't get paid enough to deal with horrible customers. Yeah, it's important. It's important to remember, like, I saw, or my wife sent me an Instagram reel the other day that was like this person like walking down the street and like people are bumping into them. And he's like, sorry, excuse me, sorry, you first, like super polite. And then the same guy was like in a car driving down the street and just like cursing and screaming at everyone. Because as soon as you're in a car, like it kind of dehumanizes everyone. And it's sort of, it's easy sometimes for people to walk into like a store, see the employee and kind of just view them as like an accessory of the store or the company and not like a person who maybe should be treated well. And same thing with, sometimes employees can be really snarky at customers, not realizing like we were visiting a dying relative in the hospital at the beginning of this year. And it was after hours, and we had to go through the emergency room and then go up to the visiting area because it was after visiting hours, but because it was an end of life thing, we were able to go up later. And we're trying to like get the clearance to go up. Time is of the essence in this situation. And finally the person, like the very jaded hospital employee, was like, okay, like go over there and talk to the security guard and he'll take you up. I was like, okay. So my wife and I went around the hallway. We kind of looked, no security guard. We're kind of like waiting. We're sort of like trying to look through windows of these locked doors, feeling sad, nervous, stressed, all these things. Nobody's around. And finally we went over to the lady and we're like, we don't know where to go. And she's like, did you open the door? And it's like, there was this like closed off office door that we were supposed to open that was like the security office, and the guard was in there like eating lunch. And it was like, oh yeah, I'll take you up. It's like, no, we didn't. How would we know? Would just randomly go open doors? Why would I do that in the hospital? I think sometimes when you work somewhere, you can forget that you might know all the little intricacies and you might deal with all the frustrating bits of being there. But like the customers or the clients or whoever's coming in, they don't know, have any clue about that stuff. It's like the DMV when it's like, did you fill out your 1045Z63 form? And you're like, no, I didn't. I didn't know what that form is. And like, how do you not know about that form? Well, you need to fill out the prerequisite for that form to get this. And you're like, I just want to do the one thing and I don't know how the system works. Like everybody just needs more compassion maybe. Dobra says, based on what I've read, the FX3 cannot be used for streaming, even so you do it. It totally can be used for streaming. I don't know. I didn't have to do anything special. Just HDMI out, good to go. And then also I'm powering it with wall power because the battery would die probably. If I were streaming with the FX3, the battery would last maybe 90 minutes. So now it's infinite. Lots of people like Reaper, so there we go. Doc says he gets annoyed at the same question, but is semi-empathetic, but gets pissed when they come in hot, angry, spewing hate, and they don't even look for an answer. Facts. There we go. There's Kathy's question. Hey, Rob, I haven't seen you in forever. I value the vols. For budget mics, do you prefer Fifine or Maono? Maono, if you can go wrong with either of those. I don't know if that worked. I've only used one Maono mic, and it was decent. I forget the name of it. It was just one I found on Amazon, bought and tried, and I liked it. I've used several Fifine mics, and I like them. So I lean towards Fifine because also their name is way easier to make jokes about because it's like, this mic sounds Fifine. So that's a plus. The first time I ever used a Fifine mic, I was literally just looking for like the cheapest USB mic. And I was just sorting on Amazon, like price, low to high. And the cheapest one that wasn't just a total scam was Fifine. And as soon as I saw that, it was the first time I heard of them. I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy that this is the brand name because the video writes itself. The thing I really like about Fifine is that their mics, in terms of sound quality, punch way above their weight class. They sound so much better than they really should for the price a lot of the times. And they have some really cool features. For their lower end mics, the build quality is not good. Like if you watch my review, my relatively recent review on the Fifine AM8, the build quality ain't great. And I talk about it. It's got crazy handling noise. It's very plasticky. So as long as you don't touch the microphone, it sounds great. But Fifine, when those are the case, they're super upfront with it. Like they will say, and I saw them, I don't know if it was on my video or in reply to somebody else, but I've seen them multiple times say like, we can't make a great sounding and well-built mic at this price point. So we have to sacrifice something, and we decided to sacrifice build quality instead of sound quality. And they just tell you that. And I love that. I love that that's just cool. You're not telling me that like this is the most revolutionary microphone, the most revolutionary $40 microphone in the world that's going to change everything, and then I'm disappointed. You're telling me this is a really good microphone, a really good sounding microphone. The build quality is not great, but for the price, you're not going to sound better than this. Cool. Very realistic expectations. Talking about the wireless, Doc is saying Rode makes it proprietary because they know they can ensure the sound quality. People automatically come up with they're just trying to make you spend money comment. I mean, that makes sense. They can ensure the sound quality. They can do presets for this. Even if it wasn't that, I personally like it's a Rode product that works with Rode products. I'm fine with that. The fact that it has a wireless thing built in at all is really cool, which I think is very, very awesome. And here we go. Blazerian says the same thing. Put the XLR jack and plug the ZVE10 to the... Oh, wait. Oi. That shouldn't have happened. Sounds like you had some crazy technical problems. Audio Technica 2035 versus Scarlett's bundle mic for singing. Oh, I haven't used the mic that comes with the Scarlett, so I don't know. The Scarlett interfaces are good. And in that case, I would bet for that price point, the mics are fairly similar. And so having a quality, clean interface, especially if it's the 4th gen Scarlett, that's maybe what I would go with. We love that you are the main pun pundit. Pundit. I can't think of anything. Hey, Lost Dave. Glad to find you. I ordered a Modu M2 just to realize I can't make my audio part with the device. Ended up buying a beacon mix crate and then realizing with shipping and tax I would go cheaper with the that's a problem. Not a problem, but it is a problem with a lot of like audio video stuff. You're like, I just need, I just want the Shure SM7B. That's what Joe Rogan uses, and I want to be just like him. And then you realize, wait, the microphone needs an interface. It needs a lot of gain. So if your interface doesn't have gain, then you need a booster, and then you need headphones. Like, it is very much a give a mouse a cookie situation with a lot of audio video production stuff. And sometimes it's just trial by fire. Like, there's nothing to do but just figure it out as you go. But other times, if you can price things out and be like, wait, this cheaper option actually ends up equaling or being more expensive than the pricier option when all things are said and done. Very important to like take all those things into account. J-Site says, you mentioned a VESA mount for the Rodecaster Duo. Could you point us into the direction of the mount? I have a video about it. It's called Elevate Your Audio, literally. And it's the brand is called Vivo, V-I-V-O. They make a lot of arms. You can use any VESA arm with the Rodecasters. I just like the Vivo one because it's really long and it just kind of helps position the Rodecaster more conveniently for me. MD, I'm going to mispronounce the name. I am very sorry. Sound quality is awesome. Any advice for a newbie to improve sound quality of cheap USB microphones like the Blue Snowball, Yeti software? Which settings to tweak? You can do that with any software, fortunately. So apparently if you're live streaming, check out Reaper because that seems to be the number one thing people are recommending. If you're not doing it live, you're putting into anything, GarageBand, Audition, Logic, Audacity, whatever. A couple of things that I always do, depending on the mic, is I find a lot of mics sound very harsh. So either adding a de-esser, if you can, will kind of get rid of some of those like sibilance sounds. And then also, sometimes I just go into the equalizer and just sort of like either add a low pass filter, which means you're kind of cutting off the highs, or just move them down, like the high end little sliders down a little bit, to just sort of like take the edge off the harshness. And then usually if I do that, then I usually kind of like round up the low end a little bit. And the mids I have found really depend on the voice and the microphone so much. Sometimes you need to like kind of lower the mids a little bit, and some other mics you really need to boost them. And sometimes you do the same thing on a different mic and now it's going to sound terrible. So it really kind of depends. But that's working with the low, mids, and highs on an EQ is a great way to start dialing things in. And then adding stuff like a de-esser. Compressors are really good if you spend the time with them to not make them sound harsh, but to make everything sound even and level. I think that's great. Here, Matt says if he didn't have the MKH50 or the 416, he'd go with the Rode NTG, the VideoMic NTG. There we go. Chadwick, do you think it's okay to use the automatic setting on the Sony XLR adapter? Yes, I use that a lot, actually. And it was Peter Lindgren who showed me, because Peter also showed me the magic of this microphone, the Sony B1M. They have the B10M, the B1, the little Sony mic, which has like the same controls. And the automatic levels on this work surprisingly well. The only issue I've had with using auto on my MKH50 in here is if there is background noise, like a fan from a light or air conditioner, it really, like, you can hear when I stop talking, you can hear it bring up the noise floor a lot because it thinks that that's like, it's very sensitive. So auto is great if you're in a quiet environment. If there's any kind of background noise, the automatic setting can be a little frustrating. Thanks for the response. You're welcome. Oh, wow, Jonathan. I didn't know you used to teach musical theater at a dance studio. That's awesome. Wiley's asking, oh yeah, if you join in late, this is the Rode Interview Pro. So it's a 2.4 gigahertz wireless microphone paired directly to the Rodecaster Pro 2. I'm working on a video for this right now. My video tomorrow is not about this. It's going to be about the Tamron 20-40 lens. This video, still working on it. It ends up as like 35 minutes at this point. But I'm really impressed with this microphone. Dave's from Switzerland, speaks German, but loves to hear me speaking English. After time, I forgot completely that you're speaking English. Your voice and audio is very chill. Wow. That's awesome. I remember when I was a kid, we used to have, like, this is very pre-internet because we never had cable, so I never had like the Disney Channel or anything, but we had whatever like the 20 sort of standard channels you would get are like when you plugged in your TV. And the last one I remember was the Spanish channel. And because when it's 1995 and you have nothing else, 1994, 95, you have nothing else going on, there's no internet, and you're just like, it's Saturday, I'm going to watch some Sábado Gigante over here and just sort of see what's happening. I would watch the Spanish channel for like hours, but I don't speak Spanish. I didn't understand it. And then I would switch back to an English thing, and I was like, I can't understand this now. And then I just couldn't understand anything. It was like, now I can't understand Spanish or English. And then I'd have an existential crisis as like a 9-year-old. Marine X says, got into a heated debate with my car dealer years ago because he didn't want to scrape off their logo from their truck. I told them I'm not free. It blows my mind when I see people like, I know you get the license plate frame that says like Dave's car sales or whatever. But some car lots, they put where you have like a Ford logo or like the Corolla emblem or whatever. And it's like they put another emblem on your car that's like their dealership. I would take that off instantly. Robert says, with the new update for Blackmagic 9.5, can you use one USB for multi-view and still use the other as a webcam out for Ecamm and OBS? I have not played with 9.5 yet, but I've watched videos on it, and that was actually a question I had. I'm inclined to think the answer is yes, because otherwise you eliminate a lot of the functionality of the ATEM by not being able to use it as a webcam. So I would think one would be webcam and one would be multi-view. That's something I need to play with. I need to update mine first. Doc says Amazon windscreens suck. They're thin and they don't block wind. Yeah, that's true. It's facts. There we go. Oh, Tyler, perfect. What's the framed waveform? So this is the waveform for the Tom Petty song Wildflowers, because in 2017, when my wife and I met, not knowing that we were going to be married, of course, she essentially, we were friends for several months. And there's a long story behind this, but the long and short of it is when it came time to finally admit that like maybe we liked each other more than friends, she had made this amazing video because she's amazing. And it was like I think it's Love Actually, the Christmas movie where the person comes to the door with the signs. She kind of did that in like a video, and that was the song in the video. And it's a very meaningful song. So that's the waveform from that song, which is very, very cool. Simon says his favorite mic at the moment is the Shure MV7. That's a good one. Once you handle the plosives, it's a good mic. There we go. And here's Doc. So when we talk about why are things expensive, Doc has been trying to like manufacture his own windscreens. He spent $36,000 for molds to make his own windscreens. Now understands why they cost $26 each. Yeah, that's like where is it? Grabbing this right here. Speaking of my friend Peter Lindgren, Peter has a Tri-Charge, which is a thing that he designed, which I remember like literally when I'm looking over there, I can't find it, but I remember when he was doing 3D printed prototypes for this and then eventually got it manufactured, he had to invest a lot of money. It wasn't just, I have an idea, company make this thing. It was like, I have this idea, here's a company that might do it. I have to put a lot of money up front into it. Scary. It's crazy. NT Signature Series. Let me show you something beautiful over here, or bluetiful, as they might say. This has been the main microphone that is over kind of at my desk setup for a while, and it is the blue NT1 Signature Series, which at first, when I saw the blue and the green ones, I was like, oh, they're not like, Rode usually does really like saturated colors, and this is a little more pastel-y. At least in person it is. On camera it almost looks the same as the mic. In person this is much more pastel-y. But then I realized some of my favorite guitar colors are Fender Daphne Blue and Surf Green, which is this color here. And that happens to be basically the exact same color that these microphones are. So I love the Signature series. It's a good one. What's better for sibilance on RE20 or SM7B? RE20 out of the box, I think, is way more sibilant than the 7B. Kyle McKenna, what's up, Kyle? It's good to see you here. Doc says I'm a good teacher. I would have said that. So I was like, thanks for saying I'm a good teacher. I'm a good teacher because I said the same thing you would have said. Just personal taste. I'm not a fan of the Rode wireless Go mic handheld attachment. Hoping Rode was going to make an XLR mic base. Oh, right. Like these guys. See, I should just pull this chest. The chest that I use the most is in there. It should be here. I didn't even grab the right thing. Oh my gosh, I am a mess. I have these two things, which when I was teaching and I'd have stuff like this on my desk, my students always thought they were vapes that I confiscated. This is a Shure wireless, and this is the Sennheiser EWDP. That's the SKP, and this I always forget is the SLX D3. How could you forget a catchy name like that? These are great. And Rode used to make, it's an XLR thing. Yeah, I talked about this in my wireless SM7B video. You plug this into an XLR mic, and then it goes to a receiver, and now you have a wireless XLR mic. These have been around forever. Rode has made these in the past. They currently do not make one. They discontinued them. I don't know why. I would love for, I mean, these are great, so I'm happy. Get Sennheiser and Shure. I sure don't need anything else, but it's crazy. It is crazy that Rode doesn't offer. We need more Aquabat Super Show. Yes, they are. I think they're on tour right now. I know Yo Gabba Gabba's coming back. That's what I know. Be Your Own Nerd did a video saying we should avoid SanDisk. Yeah, so SanDisk has always been my number one like SD card, hard drive company for years. And then I had SanDisk. It's not that the SD cards failed, but they like literally started falling apart, like pieces breaking off of them a lot. And that happened a lot when I was teaching. So I stopped buying them there. And then I bought a SanDisk SSD that literally was used maybe for a month. It was just sort of sitting in one spot. It wasn't like taken or abused or anything. And then it died. It totally died and like lost a lot of important stuff. And they had a repair warranty thing, but it literally took 7 months to get a replacement. And I was like, yeah, I don't trust this at all. So I have not been using SanDisk cards or SSDs since then, which is a bummer. Film Brain says, on the episode I just finished, I had a mic failure and had to combine the missing person's voice with the voice enhanced version and the room reverb. Yes. Are you talking about Adobe's voice enhance or enhanced speech? Because it's pretty impressive. Or unless it's another version like that. Adobe's speech enhanced stuff can really save the day. And something you can do with it also is you can run audio through it, get it, and then run it through again. And it will like upload the file, and it actually sometimes can really clean things up. Let's see here. Oh, wow, I'm way behind in the comments here. Do you often use LUTs in your videos? Daniel is asking. So I have a LUT that I made, which you can go to himynameistom.com/downloads and download it for free. But I don't know if it's going to be helpful to anybody because it's for my cameras and my environment to my tastes. But I do have a LUT. I don't have a lot of experience with LUTs, but I have kind of one happening here. I guess I'm not doing a ton. I don't want to reset my picture settings. I'm using a bit of one right now. Right now, my camera is set to the default, the PP off, which is hilarious picture profile. But I have recently been trying to film in log, which is something I've always avoided just because exposing is tricky. And like, I like the default. I always figure like the engineers who make the color profiles in cameras probably know more about color than I do. And so I'm just going to trust them. And then I can just like sweeten it. I have like a Final Cut preset or whatever that I put on there. So I always enhance the color a little bit. But lately I've been trying to film more with log because especially stuff like this, see how this light right here this is just blown out. Like this is just white, completely blown out. It's like the light is fine. You have a little bit of gradient here and then just blown out stuff here. If this were in log and then I put a LUT, you would actually be able to see the full gradient. It wouldn't just be like overexposed. And that's nice. I like that. And especially since I like a lot of high key lighting, if I use something like a white boom arm or I hold up something white to the camera, a lot of times it ends up being just overexposed and you can't see it. Or if I'm trying to film a phone screen or a device screen, the exposure is really weird. And the added dynamic range of log really helps solve those problems. So that's why I've been trying to learn more about it. But you can probably tell in like some of the more recent-ish videos, this guy's still learning. Probably. Yeah. That's what I'll say there. I see a lot of tech support. Thanks, Andre, for providing so much tech support in the chat. That's awesome. Hey, from Valencia. I think we talked last time. That was cool. Got me to fix all my audios for my videos. I live all the way in Iraq. That's awesome. I hope I'm racking up points for helping out there. Sorry, that was terrible. Mike, Matt says he's a mic snob. Sennheiser, Shure, Earthworks, and the like just got a new Shure Nexodyne for live vocals and use them at the Grand Ole Opry. Matt has decades and decades of experience in audio. That's crazy to say that the Nexodyne replaced the 58. Okay, that's nuts. Miven says, I've been having this new issue where I have audio drift. I record directly to my laptop with GarageBand and edit in Premiere Pro. Usually audio drift has to do with frame rates, or it can be a couple things. I have found that when I record at 48,000 kilohertz audio, I have a lot less audio drift. I'm not 100% sure if that's connected to it or not, but I know that's more compatible with video. I have a lot less audio drift. Sometimes it's frame rate as well. 48,000 with 24 FPS, I pretty much never have audio drift. But if I start throwing in 30 FPS on recorded stuff, you do kind of have some audio drift there. So sometimes, I wish I had a more clear answer. Sometimes it just takes a lot of like experimentation for figuring out what works best for your stuff right there. Blas says, are you using a handheld mic instead of a lavalier for the looks of it? I'm using it just because I'm working on a video about the Rode Interview Pro. And I started off just using the SM7B, which is what I would normally use in a situation like this. But I like this mic. I'm working on a video about it. I wanted to talk about it and sort of see how it works on a live stream. So far, it's working great. And I'm curious, the battery is still like totally full. So it's pretty awesome. Nebula says, I need to shoot a podcast soon, but only have shotgun microphones. Oh, honestly, I think you're in luck. Shotgun microphones can be great for podcasts. Depending on which ones you have, just be careful not to have them clip or anything. Like the Audio-Technica AT897 that I mentioned earlier, when I first ever set up a podcast studio, like 10 plus years ago, it was just with 4 of those. And they sounded amazing. And it was in this like big warehouse building and with no sound treatment. And they really like isolated the voice and people got close to them and it sounded awesome. And they're condenser mics, so they didn't need a ton of gain. If I took something like my Sennheiser MKH50 and put that right in front of me, it's so prone to plosives and it's such a sensitive mic that I would have to turn the gain down a lot and put on like a huge fat windscreen to make sure it doesn't clip or anything. So it depends on your mic, but you will probably get fantastic audio with those. Kane says, I'm not experienced in editing video. What's the easiest software to learn for a video podcast? Well, you can go to learnfinalcutpro.com and sign up for my Final Cut Pro editing. No, you don't. You can go there, and I do have a Final Cut Pro editing course. I say that to share my bias towards Final Cut Pro. I love Final Cut. I do feel like after having taught it for a number of years, it is the easiest software to learn, and it has a lot more pro features than I think it's given credit for. So I'm partial to Final Cut. And it also has a multicam editing feature if you're doing long form stuff, but so does Premiere and so does Resolve. Pretty much all the big ones do. If you don't want to do Final Cut or you don't have the budget, Resolve 100%. Like, I prefer Final Cut, but I've said this before, I have zero negative things to say about Resolve. I think it's fantastic software. And a really, really cool thing about Resolve, well, maybe it's more of a cool thing about Blackmagic, is you can download Resolve even for free for Mac or PC, and then you can go to Blackmagic's website and download like tons of sample project files and tutorials that are just like no nonsense. Here's how to import footage in Resolve. Here's how to organize it. Here's how the timeline works. And they walk you through like creating a project. Basically, it's like my Final Cut Pro course, but for Resolve and free. So there you go. Yeah. So maybe Resolve, but I like Final Cut. So there we go. We definitely need a wall art video. I've thought about doing that for the second channel because there's fun stories. Trying to look. I mean, some of them are just like things I went to. Like, this is just a concert I went to, which is cool. You know, I like the artwork. This is a drone shot from, I think it was like the first podcast I was ever a guest on was hosted by Preston Jensen. And he sometimes pops up in the chat, has a YouTube channel, does podcasting. He's a drone pilot. And after I was on his podcast, this showed up in the mail. It's like it's really nice metal print of an aerial photo he did. So I was like, it's so cool that, you know, had I not started a YouTube channel, I wouldn't have met this person and wouldn't get to have this thing here. That's kind of a cool reminder of that. Kathy says, speaking of physical products, what would the TB dream product be? We already know what color it would be. I can tell you this. I actually have an answer for this, but I'm not going to spend $50,000 to invest in it. I just want this to exist. It would be a mic arm. The best mic arm in the world. That's just what the product would be called. Because it would be, maybe we could do a high profile and a low profile one. So let's take this Elgato low profile arm, for example. I love the revisions they made on this where like the magnets are stronger and stuff, and they added a tension knob here. Anywhere there is a knob on a mic arm, this is a repeat of my last stream. There should be teeth that grip in and clamp shut. So when you tighten it down, it cannot move, like no matter what. I was actually thinking about this in the middle of the night last night. If I made one, what I would like to show, I would like it to be strong enough that I could like literally stand on it and show like that it wouldn't sag. That's how strong I want it to be. And same thing up here. I want it to be able to go left and right and up and down, pan and tilt, but with locking teeth that go in and it can't move. Like basically the example I use is any iFootage articulating arm has such strong interlocking teeth. I'm trying to like look for an iFootage thing nearby, that you just, once it's locked in, it's not going anywhere. And that's what I want. I want to be able to position the mic, no matter the weight of the microphone. You can put, no matter the shock mount that it's in, you can face it however you want. Because, you know, if your mic arm's coming from the side, if it's coming from the front, sometimes people even have them come from behind. You can position your mic exactly as you need it, and it's not going to move. That's what I want. And that doesn't exist. I'm sure there's other cool, fun things, like you add like a pneumatic element or something, but that doesn't exist. That Daphne Blue Jag Sting would be that mic. So this, oh, wait, are we talking about this? Maybe we're talking about I don't know if you're talking about this or not. This is very cool. This is a Fender 66, which is not an old guitar, despite the name. I got this one in 2020. It was part of their alternate reality series. So a couple cool things about this is it has a small jazz bass body. So it's a guitar with a bass body. It has the giant CBS era headstock, which I love. So it's basically got a 70s Strat headstock, a jazz bass body, and then single coil humbucker. And the reason it's called a 66 is because the jazz bass, even though I'm a precision bass guy myself, the jazz bass originally came out in 1960, 4 strings, sometimes 5 strings. This has 6 strings, so it's a 60 with 6, which is pretty cool. There we go. Anyway, this has been Guitar Talk. There we go. What brand cards and drives do you use now? I've been using the Samsung drives and then pro-grade memory cards so far, knock on wood, have never let me down. I just use 128 gigabyte SD cards. As long as they're V90 cards, they work well. I think I have some 256, but they just get expensive. So 128 is what I tend to stick with. Sailing, I like it when you use a handheld mic to move around, more dynamic presentation. May want to check sync. It could be, because I was synced up before with the SM7B and then I switched here. Now the wireless could be introducing some sort of latency. So I'll have to look at that afterwards. Chadwick uses the S-Cinetone preset on the cameras. Tried S-Log, but it was grainy. Yeah, the thing with S-Log is it's weird because it's like ISO 800 on the FX3. Doesn't matter. Like right now I have ISO 100. It's probably overexposed. Actually, that says it's perfect. The camera says it's perfect. But ISO 800 is like I'm on the surface of the sun. So then you have to maybe start adding in ND filters and everything, but that's going to get you the cleanest thing. Here we go. If you only had the original pod mic and Lewitt 240, which would you pick? I'd pick the Lewitt. Love them both, but the Lewitt sounds absolutely amazing, and I love it. Oh, the lineup and track count for fine. Yeah, right. This is the new Aquabats album that's finally coming out because it's their 30th anniversary this year. Very excited about that. But have you tested new Deity mics at all? No, I haven't. I mentioned a minute ago that I got a text message from Audio Hotline. So Bronson from Audio Hotline and I were at NAB together, and we went to the Deity booth. And I think it was the end of the day because we both knew the same person from Deity who turns out like they were leaving. So it was just another person. I don't know who this guy was. He's like kind of an older-ish guy. And they had their new mics, and he came over, and we were like, oh, are these new mics that came out? He was like, yeah, they're new ones. And we were like, oh, cool. Like, you know, what do they do? And he's like, well, these are just like the prototypes. They're not available yet. So, you know, these are just the pre-production ones or whatever. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know, what's different? He's like, well, these ones are water resistant and they have this kind of sound profile. He listed off the features, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And he was like, yeah, but the last one did too. I was like, oh, so there's no real difference. And then Bronson was asking if he could plug one in and try it so he could record on his camera and test it out. And the guy was like, no, you can't take it. These are the only ones we have. And he's like, no, I don't mean have it. I just mean like try it. You know, this is a convention. I would like to try the product. And the guy was like, yeah, whatever. And then he just left. Like we were like talking about the mics, and he literally was just like, and just walked away. And that was the last we ever saw of him. So I don't know. And it's weird too, because Deity's like owned by the same company that owns Aperture. They're owned by Aperture, and Aperture had the biggest, craziest booth, almost like the craziest one at all of NAB. Yeah. Here we go. Dog is saying it should be $29.97, not $30. YouTubers broke the norm of $29.7. Numbers. There we go. Dang, Doc's going to be in ATL. He'll say hi to Danger Woman while he's out there. Let's see here. Matt says he suggested that iFootage make a mic arm. I have emailed them this because it's like sure, like bring me in the design. Let me make my own product, and that'd be awesome. But like also like I just want the product, so just make it so I can buy it. That would be great. Let's see here. I know we're going on for a while, so I'm going right here. I guess the issue with Tom's tooth boom arm is that some like being able to adjust their mic against the tension during use. Yes. I don't know. There's probably a very clever way that if you had the teeth thing, you can maybe do like a quick release button, like, and move it, like a spring-loaded thing where the teeth come out and you move it and then you let go and they snap shut again. So then you could do one-handed. Because it is always tough when you have to like put the mic here and like adjust it, and especially if you're actually live while doing it. But I am so tired of, I just want the mic to be able to be positioned exactly how I want, no matter what kind of shock mount I'm using or what kind of microphone I'm using. And I want it to stay there. Stay. That's what I want. Do you also hear a slight noise when you plug your headphones into the pod mic USB, even when the monitoring is turned off? I don't. You mean like hear the signal? I haven't had that problem. It's worked pretty well for me so far. So I don't know though. What I would do genuinely is reach out to Rode's customer support because they're really, really good. And that's what, and they'll be able to help you troubleshoot. And then also if something is wrong, they will help you fix it and get it taken care of. And I really do still like Rode's support. I guess the last thing to end here, I'm using a Rode mic because I was going to say this in my video, but I cut it for time. So now I'll say it here. One of the reasons I started using Rode products a lot way before YouTube was because when I was teaching, they were affordable and they worked really well. And when I had problems, their customer support took care of me, even when the problem was like a student dropped it. It's not that the thing was bad. Which in a time when public education, it's like I have to place equipment orders like a year in advance. So now if a microphone's broken, it's like, cool, we don't have this mic for like a year. And then Rode would just replace it in like 2 weeks or less, you know, like that was really, really cool. So that kind of won me over. And then when I was building up my own gear collection, it's like I kind of just gravitated towards Rode stuff. And I recently had something pop up, I forget, a while ago where I had to do customer support. And I just use Rode's regular support because something that I know people say, and there's probably truth to it, is like, well, if Rode sends you stuff, you probably get a different level of service than like the average customer does. And Rode had good service 10, 15 years ago. Do they still have good service now? Because that could be true. Like, it kind of makes sense that, like, they send a thing to someone hoping they're going to review it. If that person has a question, they're going to answer, they're going to take really good care of them. I think any company would do that, right? But whenever I use Rode's regular customer support thing, because if I buy a Rode thing and I need help with it, I just do that. It's always really great. And sometimes, which makes me sound paranoid, sometimes I use a fake name so that it's not like, oh, it's just Tom and we know his channel because he talks about the Rodecaster a lot. So sometimes I use like fake name, different email address, like don't know who it is. I want to see what their support is like without, the YouTuber bubble, and it's still good. I'm sure there are people out there who've had, not great support experiences, but in my personal experience over, I would say 15 years of using Rode stuff, that's got to be the exception and not the norm. So I still trust them a lot. And then we can wrap it up here with this question. Talking tech with Techie Going to buy a Rodecaster Duo and a Shure MV7X mic to kick off a new podcast. Hey, I think that's a great combo. For sure. That's sure a good road to go down. All right. With that being said, my table is creaky. With that being said, let's wrap it up. This went really long. That was super fun. Thank you for joining me on a Wacky Wednesday stream. Let's see. Tomorrow, video coming out about the Tamron 20-40, which I did a review on when I first got this like 2 years ago. And I just really love this lens and nobody talks about it. So I wanted to kind of like revisit it. And I really like that. I think that'll be a really fun video. It's like such a terrific lens. And thanks. I think that's all the things, right? I'm trying to think like other things to mention. I guess that's everything. And I'm working on a video for this microphone. That's why I'm using it now. So that should be out when it's done. It's a big video, so it'll be out maybe a little later. And otherwise, appreciate you being here. Appreciate all the kindness and support and everything. So hope everyone has a safe, happy, healthy rest of their day. I'll see you next time. I'm going to go to a countdown screen. So it'll be about a minute before the stream ends and everyone can say goodbye to each other and stuff. So thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.